Dr. Jeff West, Newark, Delaware. Be Truly Well, Chiropractic and Day Spa.
Now, how did you come up with that name?
It's my goal in life. Since I was a kid, I was always trying to find a better way to be healthier, that type of thing. Grew up with a dad who recently passed away, but he hadn't taken a medication when I was a kid for 25 years, and I think he made it 76 years without a medication in his body. So having that as an upbringing, we also had an organic garden in the backyard that I hated working with, but once I got into college, just seeing the difference between a homegrown tomato and a store-bought tomato was mind-blowing how much better it was. And Mom worked in GNC when it just started in the 70s, so I grew up in a sort of a natural environment. My grandmother would tell me to chew garlic when I got sick. The other side of the family would take their medications. We would chew garlic and stink. But that's sort of how my life went, and when it came time to start the business, it just was perfect for me. 17 years ago, I was in practice for 3 years. I had studied under some of the top chiropractic sports and industrial injury professionals in the business, and had been getting adjusted since I was 6, so I figured, I'm good. Life is going to be rosy and everything. I've got chiropractic, I've got so much knowledge. I graduated studying some really successful people, successful doctors, and got into practice gung-ho, and I was studying Tony Robbins and learning as much as I could. And so practice, literally, with a lot of effort, it was growing. And in 3 years, I was doing pretty well in practice, seeing 130, 140, 150 patients in a week. And then my hands started to go bad. Well, okay, I studied carpal tunnel syndrome, knew how to treat it, so I just found the closest chiropractor to treat me the same way that I was trained in how to treat it, and I was effectively treating it, and it wasn't working. So, 3 years into practice, 6 figures of debt from college debt, and I hurt every time I would do a P-Day adjustment. Pain would shoot up both arms, like searing pain would shoot up. It would start to burn in my wrists. I would have to shake it out and then go back and do more. And that was every single adjustment, every single day for 6 months. Practice went up for 3 years, and then it went really quick because I was in so much pain. I would wrap ice bags around my wrists at night just so I could get on the computer and search for answers and solutions. And I got an email one night from a Dr. Jesse Judkowitz that said, chiropractic technique that can change posture immediately, change vital capacity of the lungs and cardiac output immediately. Went, sounds good, send me more information, right? Ow, that hurt to just write that. And I got an email, I think within an hour back, saying, well, as a matter of fact, I'll be in Cherry Hill tomorrow, come up. And so I looked at my schedule and said I have the morning off. I was going to be in Philadelphia anyhow, was looking for other solutions for my hands. Walked into the seminar, he said, you Jeff? I went, yeah. It's like, I'm Jesse, come here. And there was another doctor's office, and there were about, I'd say, probably 10 to 14 other chiropractors in the office. He brought me up to the front, said, what's your problem? Like, my hands hurt. They've been hurting for 6 months, I'm miserable. He said, okay, good, face that way. Took some pictures on a Polaroid where you shake the picture out. Remember those old ones? Because that was 17 years ago. And I've seen the pictures because they were sent to me a few years ago, and my posture was like miserable. It was horrible. Didn't realize that was any relation to my hands, but he just started doing the protocol, and the first thing he did was a posterior meningeal release. And I thought he broke me in half, and I wanted to leave. And then he did the other side, and I really wanted to leave. And then he did a lateral, and I really wanted to get the heck out of there. He kept on running through the protocol, and when he was done, I was standing up straight, and he said, okay, so what do your hands feel like? And I went, what did you do? Like, these feel better for the first time in 6 months. They don't even hurt. What the heck did you just do? Because carpal tunnel is a tunnel in the wrists, and it's a problem with the wrists. He didn't touch my wrists, but my wrists felt better, both of them. So at that point, I was like, I got patients in an hour, and it's an hour away. I got to go. What do? He said, take the home study course home now. Give me your credit card. I'm like, I don't have time, and I don't have it with me. He said, call me tonight. I went, okay. And so I called him up that night, gave him my credit card number, read the whole thing that night because I felt better. Interesting thing was, as I was driving home, my neck went into spasms, right? But I didn't care because these felt good. And this had hurt me for 6 months. I know that's unwinding through, at that time, 3 car accidents and football injuries and everything that I put my body through. So that shortly went away, and I was so excited because I found something that worked that college didn't teach me. So I literally had to park my entire education to the side, study this whole new education on how to treat bodies, start using it on the very difficult patients, ran into problems with them, and Jesse had told me, if you don't get the results that I tell you you're going to get, call me. So I called him almost every night and said, I'm not getting results. And he literally told me at one time, he was like, when the patient's in the office, call me. And so I called him, and it was an interesting phenomenon because I'm telling him what's going on. He said, put the patient on the phone. The patient's sitting there going, Jesse would tell me what to do. I would do it. He would say, put the patient on the phone. Patient would go, He would say, do the other side. I would do it. Patient would say, He said, keep on going. And then after a few weeks of doing this, he eventually said, you're missing something. How soon can you get 15 other docs in your office? I went, 2 weeks? So he said, all right, I'm coming down. And so I worked hard for 2 weeks to get about 15 other local chiropractors in the office. Jesse came down, and we started at 9 a.m., and I scheduled patients every 15 minutes instead of every 6 at that point, and just had them all day, and we would both treat. Either he would treat or I would treat, and he would watch me treat, and he would explain what's going on to the other doctors. And we just went through patient after patient after patient after patient. And at one point, one of my patients got a phone call, left, and came back and said, Dr. West, Mike's on the phone, which was her husband. He just blew his back out. Jesse says from afar, bring him in now. And so the guy came in, big 6'5" construction worker, comes in just going, and literally couldn't bend over because he had a hot low back. And Jesse took him and just started going through things and got it to loosen up a little bit. And then Jesse was a little perturbed, and he said, here, go across the street, get me some juicy fruits. It's like, why did he just do? The patient's like, okay. So he goes across, we start seeing more patients. The guy comes back, he's like, how's it feeling? He's like, a little better, but still locked up. Started the protocol again, went the other way, had the guy bending and touching the floor in front of all of us with a hot low back. And so it's like, okay, wow, that's pretty cool. Went through more patients. I felt pretty good. I asked him a simple question as, well, what happens if you do the wrong side? And the way Jesse would do it would be just take my head and go, and then say, now do you understand? And I went, yeah, I don't like it. And then grab my head and go, and then I'm like, okay, thank you. And that's his way of teaching back then. I don't know if he still does, but I got the points and understand what happens when you go on the wrong side. And last patient of the day that I mentioned earlier at the seminar, Jack on a motorcycle going 65 down a back road in Newark, Delaware, going 65 on his Harley, like Harley people love to do. Deer jumps out. He hits the deer, launches. The police measured it was like 250 feet from where he left his bike. He says he remembers flying in the air and landing on his feet, and then he woke up days later in the hospital. He apparently flew 250 feet because he was going 65 miles an hour, landed on his feet and shattered his tibia and fibula in a million pieces. And he brought the x-rays in. He kind of came shuffling in, said, I heard you can help me. And this was right as I started learning ABC. So I went, I don't know what to do. So brought him in, looked at his x-rays, and it looked like marble. His tibia and fibula on both sides were marble. He was in the hospital for 1 year, pinning piece by piece back together again. So he comes in shuffling on his legs. I'm like, what do you have trouble doing? Can't bend down like this. It would kill him. And his back was locked up and everything else, but he just couldn't squat down at all. He was an auto mechanic, so he worked up like this so he could do that. But life was otherwise miserable and in pain all the time. And nobody could help him. So 2 years after this accident, 1 year after being in the hospital, he comes shuffling into my office, and I sit there and go, I don't know what to do with you because you've got shattered legs. That's where all your pain's coming from. So he was the last patient of that day to come in, and his name was Jack. He came in the office, and I said, Jack, Jesse, Jack. Jesse, don't know what to do with him. You take him. And it was me kind of going, see what you can do with this guy. He says, what's your problem? Jack goes, oh, he says, okay, face that way. Starts running the protocol, doing meningeal releases on an auto mechanic who's, expletives are coming out of his mouth after getting meningeal released. And Jesse just doesn't flinch and says, yeah, I know. Go ahead and do that thing again. After one meningeal release, he goes, hey, what the heck did you just do to me? And then he runs the protocol, stops at L5, and he has Jack doing this. all right, going, what the F did you just do to me? And my jaw is on the ground. I'm 15 feet away, just literally didn't know what to say. I just went, there's no way that's possible, but I just saw it. Okay, what else do you got? Like, sign me up for anything. I mean, at that point it was, game on. And then I started doing it on the difficult patients who became like Jack. 3 months of treating him, half his life was out of pain, half of it was in pain. He ran out of money. He said, thanks, doc. To this day, I still get patients from him, 17 years later. And they tell me he's still doing good. But the difficult patients now are not difficult. I get patients because I have a 100% or 99% patient referral practice. The difficult patients send in all their difficult friends. And they're like, had failed surgeries, can you do anything? About 7-8 years ago, I had a gal came in that had 13 failed surgeries. Had 8 screws, 2 plates in her neck, vertebroplasty, cemented mid-back from a fracture, and had 8 screws in her lumbar spine, screwing, bolting together with wire cages and everything in her body. Miserable, in pain all the time. She came in, got the x-rays of her and went, this ought to be fun, because ABC makes you competent and confident. And I started working on her, and she hated every single meningeal release I did and told me, I hate this, I hate you. I'm like, got it. But her posture went from like this to this, and she really never told me, couldn't get it out of her what was going on. She ended up leaving after about 5 or 6 months. Saw her a year and a half later, Christmas shopping at Best Buy. She walks up to me, smiling with her husband, says, oh, Dr. West, this is my husband. I just want to let you know that I was this close to killing myself when I met you. And I'm feeling so much better. I have a new outlook on life, and my jaw dropped. Like, wow, are you kidding me? It's that kind of impact you have on people's lives. And today I've got people with nuts, bolts, screws, bars, broken plates in their neck that I treat, and I have all the confidence in the world to get them better, and it happens. And so now it's like, it doesn't matter who comes in the office. I know I'm getting a result.
That's great.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal technique, changed my life, and to this day, it's, I got a 199 to 100% patient referral practice. The rest come in because all my patients leave reviews online. We got 5-star reviews, over 200 of them online without asking. Patients just automatically do it, and the people who come in from Google read the reviews and come in and just expect me to fix them. So I don't have to sell anything. They come in, I tell them what's going on, what we're gonna do, how it's gonna affect their body, do it. They go, wow, this guy knows what he's talking about. And they keep on referring people in without asking. And so I literally have a fun day. I go in, my day is full every day, and I just focus on the patient. I don't have to ask them anything. I just show them, tell them, wow them. They tell other people, and it's a pretty amazing experience.
Talk about the wow factor. What is the wow factor?
It's the jaw drop. Like I had the first day, I saw Jesse do something, and I know the patient was like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, wow. It's like the song by Beck. It's like, wow, like you gotta be kidding me. It's such a change because people are so used to going to a doctor and it doesn't work. They try this, they try that, and they get a little bit better. They're not used to getting a result. And when you wow them, right? A person who hasn't touched their like, okay, my back hurts. Bend and touch the floor. I haven't done that in 50 years. Ah! And you adjust them on day one and they go down and they're, boom. They look at you and go, wow, right? Or say something else akin to wow. I mean, they're just blown away that can actually happen. Or the frozen shoulder suddenly gets better, or that neck that's killing them, oh, wow. Or especially the deep breath. I get the biggest wow factor after breathing because most people are so forward and collapsed, they can't breathe. And when you pop them up and they just go, wow. It's such a huge difference that it's just unheard of in healthcare. I never thought it could happen. I wasn't taught, I was taught that I could do some pretty amazing things in chiropractic, but not every day. Every single day, people are blown away. And so it literally is wow from head to toe. Patients are wowed. New staff come into the office, they're wowed because they can't believe the difference that they see some staff come from other chiropractic offices and just sit there and scratch their head and like, what are you doing in there? I'm like, come watch me. And then they see it and they just go, wow. And then they get under care and they're like, wow. And it's just, it's infectious. It goes through, the patients are wowed. They're in the waiting room saying, wow, when they hear stuff it's an amazing experience.